He reminds me a lot of myself, and he got to run the 57. Even Paul said like he's got a lot of the same qualities and driving style as me. He's definitely the best that's been in a wing sprint car at that age in a long time.
Episode 9 of the High Limit Room is live here on FloRacing. Dylan Welch, Brad Sweet, Kyle Larson with you, reflecting on a couple of nights, 2 races and 6 nights for the High Limit Sprint Car Series, with racing action at Grandview and Kokomo also completed earlier this week. We normally start off with a victory toast. Nobody won this week or last week, so we got to step it up, I guess. We can toast 2 good nights of racing, I think, though, with the High Limit Series, and been a lot of fun. 2 new winners, 2 first-time winners with Rico Aber at Grandview and Justin Peck at Kokomo. So let's go back to Grandview and start off, with that. Obviously, it rained out on Tuesday and pushed to Wednesday. The crowd was great, though, still. And I think that was something that we kind of talked about a couple of weeks ago leading into this race, is that crowd is always good at Grandview, but they showed up again on Wednesday. So certainly thankful for all of you race fans for coming out and joining us again on Wednesday. Kyle, it was another one of those classic Kyle versus Rico duels. Rico got the best of you on this one, but I guess we can appreciate that the win streak is finally over and somebody else got in a victory lane.
Yeah, I know all the high limit, higher ups were excited, I think, to see me not win. No, it was a good race. Rico's been extremely good all season long, so I wasn't surprised that I was going to end up battling for the win, and he passed me pretty easily there. I had been choosing the bottom on the restarts, and it was getting slicker down there, and I just thought I could do better taking off up top and taking off early. And I thought I did a good job. Rico did a good job as well, though, executing that and staying low down the straightaway and then shortcutting one where I did not. I thought I launched good enough and could get to just running my line and get my momentum built up as quickly as possible. And just didn't work out. So I knew that was going to be a little gamble, choosing the top, and it just didn't work out that time. So came up a little bit short, but great crowd, as you mentioned, great racetrack. They had a lot of rain, obviously, the day before, and come feature time, the track was awesome. So hats off to the track crew and everybody for all the hard work and running an efficient program.
Yeah, Brad, so Kyle brings up a good point. Let's talk about that from your perspective as the guy kind of down there getting your hands dirty. What kind of task was it? I guess we can start Tuesday. Track just took too much rain, obviously, but then what kind of task was it Wednesday to just kind of get it groomed back into running order and get it good for the feature?
Yeah, I mean, luckily they're up on a hill at Grandview, and a lot of that water drains off. Just too much water and rain was just kept coming on Tuesday. So Wednesday they have so much equipment and they do a great job. They had graders on the track, packers, water trucks, skid steers. I mean, they had everything that you need to make it all work. So they did a great job. I was just there to kind of support and give my 2 cents, but they had the track, ready to go. It was obviously with the rain the night before, it just took a lot longer to burn off and get to the Grandview that we all know and expect, which is, slick and wide. And they did a good job just through the night, just, kept working at it, kept trying to grade the material off. And, luckily in the main event, it kind of came to life. And that's really what we hope for. Obviously we want good heat races, but a lot of times we're working towards a good main event. And I think the fans got to see a great main event. Obviously I was surprised when Kyle chose the top, made it interesting, and Rico did a good job, getting the bottom there. And then the race got interesting late in the race. Kyle it was almost like roles were reversed from Eagle. I felt like Kyle tried to pull the slider on Rico maybe a lap too early in 3 and 4 there. And Rico saw him and knew to change his line in 1 and 2. And it was just good racing. It's been fun to be a fan and see how good the racing's been from the infield. That's not a typical place that I've been watching from, but I've really enjoyed the last couple of races.
You guys can both discuss this. I mean, Kyle, you've had, I think, probably more driving experience as far as the choose cone goes. But Brad, you've watched a lot of races and have a little bit of experience as a driver doing the choose cone this year. But I'm curious, how you pick the lines. Is it more important to pick the line that launches the best on the restart, or do you pick it based on what the racing line is that you prefer? Like, how do you guys decide in the moment what's the most important and the best lane to choose?
Well, I think there's a kind of a handful of factors that go into it. For me, I've been, in the front two rows for most of them this year, Lakeside and 34, I was more mid-pack and could kind of, had decisions to make. And I think within those decisions, you've got kind of shortest lane. You're always probably going to go for the shortest lane if that's available. But then if that's not available, you got to weigh like, well, it's tough with dirt. They're like, okay, you may be able to initially launch better in the bottom, but when you get to turn one is the top, where you want to be for momentum and air and all that. You also have to take into account, who's around you, who's in front of you, what their tendencies are. If somebody chooses the top that doesn't typically run above it or something like that, you can factor that into it. Know that you're gonna, or at least have a high chance that you'll have a lane to go above them in one. If you choose the bottom, is it slick and narrow down there? But if you hit it, is it going to be worth something? So there's a lot of thinking that you have to do really quickly. And our crew with the High Limit Series has done a good job of like getting things organized right after a caution, and then quickly going into the choose cone. So it's like it's hard to think about all this and weigh all those factors and then be ready to choose when it's time to choose. So I like the choose cone because as soon as the caution comes out and you guys get single file, it's like you're thinking about, okay, you're running all those scenarios in your head, and like if this guy chooses that lane, where do I go? Stuff like that. So it adds a very great element to the race and having to kind of think your way through a lot of things.
And even when you're leading, it doesn't, whether it's a choose cone or not, when we do double file restarts, like with the Outlaws, for instance, you're choosing high or low, so that's always a thought process that's on your mind is, which, typically the most important thing that I look at is what lane is going to launch better. And at least, you don't want to give the other guy the advantage, at least, right out the gate. So I at least like to be ahead, then whether I'm going to guard into turn one or, whatever that is. So typically it's the bottom, I feel like 7-8 times out of 10. But sometimes the bottom will wear out and you got to start looking at the top. And it's a very awkward feeling when you're leading the race and you choose high and then the guy gets on your inside and you're like, man, this is, it feels tougher at times. And I've had a few go, the wrong way, like Kyle did, where you get it in your head, like I got to start up top because, I'm going to get the run. And then it's like the bottom ends up coming, just a shorter distance or a better launch, and they get in front of you and it makes things hard. So yeah, it's a very challenging thing with dirt racing, the double file restarts. And then obviously the choose cone just allows the guys that, are behind the leader to not be, so tied to the leader. So there's a lot more choosing, going on throughout the field. And that's probably, factored more into like how your car is handling and what line you've been running and, maybe who's in front of you, things like that. You're just trying to get the best, spot that you can get.
Yeah, you're right. So the Outlaws, of course, do get to do that as the leader. You do choose your restart lane. So it definitely has added a different element this year to our races, and has been a lot of fun to watch. So moving on to Kokomo, that was again the rescheduled race from early May. We talked a lot about how special that place was, I think, to all of us earlier this year. And it delivered on the hype. It delivered on everything that we kind of expected from that place. Justin Peck won his first feature since February at Lincoln, cashed in on the Durst dice roll. Finally, we've made some changes to it, and we finally got somebody that was able to cash in on the bonus. So, and the cool thing that, we're doing too, and Brad, I think part of this was kind of you and Chris spearheading some of this was getting a race fan involved to roll the dice, which I think is a fun element that kind of gives the kids a cool opportunity to be involved a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously explored every option that we can with the Durst dice roll, and the drivers, I think, just with the big money on the line, and they're just not really willing to give up the front row spot, and it just seemed like we were maybe wasting a little bit of time with it. We weren't really getting a lot of traction with it. It seemed a lot better on paper than it actually was turning out to be at the track. So, for right now, I think it's kind of fun to have a younger fan interact, get to roll some dice, and then it's kind of just a luck of the roll. And Justin Peck, obviously, it rolled his number. He got to win an extra $3,000 on top of the $23,000. So that's pretty cool to give a guy, $26,000 on a Tuesday night. I thought that was really neat, and I thought he drove a great race and deserved that for sure.
Kyle, lap traffic, made things interesting all night, in the feature. And at the end, I think that the yellow at the end was obviously reset things and took you guys out of lap traffic in that battle. Did that yellow at the end, do you feel like that decided the race? Did it have a big impact on what you could do ultimately to challenge for the win?
It for sure made it tougher to be able to win. Like, I was going to need him to make a mistake on the restart, which was probably not going to happen because he was really good. But I don't know. It would have been, you don't know how the race is going to play out. It was an intense track. So if the caution doesn't come out, I don't know. But if he runs, 2 clean laps, even in traffic, he probably still wins. But yeah, it was just it was an intense racetrack. So it was a lot of fun, and you catch lap traffic so fast there. It just makes the racing really good.
How gnarly was the ledge through 1 and 2 there? It looked like you had to be about perfect.
Well, it was very tough. Like early in the race, there was a cushion on entry, but it wasn't like too bad. So you could kind of get your right rear above it to, free your car up some, also get a little bit better angle to miss the curb that was, in the center of 1 and 2. But then it got really ledged up on entry. So then it was hard to enter above it. It was really slick below it. So I never quite found a good way to get through there. And then that cushion in the center, even, earlier in the race, you could kind of even still run above it at that point, but it got pushed up enough where you couldn't run above it. And if you did, you'd get your right rear over it and it'd want to like spin you to the infield. And then, exit too, like if you did a good job of missing the curve and not getting tight in the center, well, then you were like higher off of 2 and in the crumbs and couldn't get down the backstretch like you needed to. So there was a lot of different ways to get through 1 and 2. And I don't know if any of us the last half of the race got through there exactly how we had planned going, into the corner. But it makes things tricky and fun and gets the heart rate up. And it's a workout when the track's that aggressive. And then 3 and 4, even, 3 and 4 was rough, higher than I've ever ran at Kokomo probably too. So, it was just a great track. They did a really good job with the surface, as they always do. Kokomo's amazing all the time, but I really think wing sprint cars around there are perfect for that place. I think maybe not perfect for that place, but I think out of all the cars that race at Kokomo, I think the wing cars put on the best racing just because you can use that wing speed to stay up the racetrack in 3 and 4. I think a lot of the series that you see run at Kokomo, they all run the same line in 3 and 4. The big entry into 3 and cut across and diamond the exit. Non-wing cars, midgets, dirt late models, probably even the Thunder cars. So it's just the wing sprint cars it's just fast paced, super aggressive, and I feel like you have more lane options as well.
To all the non-wing fans, that wasn't me that said that wing racing was better at Kokomo. So I
think wing racing is better all around. So
it was a great, as a fan, I enjoyed the show. I was in the infield watching, and it was definitely intense. It was fun to watch. 3 and 4 got tricky. 1 and 2 was super tricky. We tried to bring the bottom back a little bit before the A, but I didn't want to make it too. I didn't want to get it too good and then everybody start running the bottom. So we moved the tires in a little, had a little bit of water, but the O'Connors there, Reese, he does an amazing job, like you said. And he had the track perfect all night. There was I think he had to do a little extra hot lapping, and then qualifying was equal all the way through. The heat races were great. The dash was exciting, and and then the A main was good too. So it was just a great night there for sure.
Does the diamond move work in a wing car? Like that is like the Kokomo. That's like the Kokomo, staple, right? Like that's what everybody does through 3 and 4, like you said. I mean, does it work in a wing car, or do you just got to get going up on the high side?
Well, I mean, it works. It's just slower. So, with the wing, you can just enter. You like to run the diamond. You have to like run to a point, stop, and start turning down the hill. Where you just waste too much time while you're changing direction. To where when you're just with the wing, you can just run momentum up there and carry that speed all the way through the corner and all that. So, early in the night, it looked a little bit more useful. Like some guys tried it in qualifying, and the cushion was lower at that point. There's a little more grip on exit down the bottom. So, there's a lot that weighs into it. But it seems like
I think the track got a little too high. I feel like the track got the further the distance is, the harder it is to do the diamond across all the slick. So like once it got a little like rough, and that's another thing, like changing directions as your car's bouncing is really hard. So there was a lot of factors I think that basically made the diamond line very challenging. Like in the back in the field, guys were, doing it at times and making it work okay. But for the most part, the good guys were just running extremely hard, in 3 and 4 and keeping their momentum up. But yeah, I thought it got wide enough that the diamond line started to be really hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you guys think of Corey Day? I made some guy mad on Facebook, I guess, because I said there's a difference in racing in California and then traveling east and racing in the Midwest. And I think you guys can both attest to that, because you did that yourselves. But we've all known how good he is and how impressive he is. He's run in the Midwest before. But it takes some an adjustment, right, to kind of adapt to these type of tracks and this type of competition. But I thought he was really impressive on Tuesday.
Yeah, Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just saying, I don't think it's necessarily adjusting to the racetracks. I think it's just more so adjusting to the competition. The competition is good in California, but you get stuck racing the same guys. You just get stuck at that level, where once you get to the outside of California, whether it be Midwest or East Coast, wherever, the competition most nights is you're racing with guys that you've never, or you don't have much experience racing with. They race at a different pace, I think, from start to finish. So I think just adjusting the more so that is tougher. Maybe when Brad and I grew up in California, I feel like for me anyways, when I grew up in California, like every racetrack was heavy and rough, and you put 30 tear-offs on every night. Where now when I watch videos of California, the tracks actually look racy and slick. And so I think drivers are probably getting more adapted to that already, racing at home. And then when they come to the Midwest, it's just adjusting to the competition, I think, for a guy like Corey, who's so good.
Yeah, and there's obviously anytime you go, to like more of a national, series or things, the talent pool is much bigger. And when you're racing in California, you're kind of, going against. There is a lot of talent in California. There's no doubt. You look at Justin Sanders and Shane Golobic and Corey Day and Dominic Scelzi. These guys could travel, and Cole Macedo. Like they're all there. They're doing a good job. Kokomo, I think, fits the driving style. But I think what I was probably the most impressed about with Corey is, and I've been watching him quite a bit. He jumped in that car. That was a brand new car for him to jump in, and a new track, and he just looked calm all night, looked under control. He just has the look, of not a 17-year-old, and he reminds me, of things that I see with Kyle at times, just from me watching. He's got a long way to go, and who knows how he's going to develop. Everybody always wants to compare the next guy to the next guy to the next guy. But, I would say Corey right now to me is, definitely has a lot of potential. And I think he's got a very big skill set for how young he is. And I think you saw that on display. I think a lot more people are going to start seeing that as he travels more and starts, going to some of these bigger events and bigger races outside of California. But I was very impressed for sure.
Yeah, that dash move, Kyle, that that you went in there and slid up and he just got on the brakes and turned back underneath you. Did you expect that? Was the move you made kind of your only option, or what did you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought I got to him late enough down the straightaway that I was going to not necessarily surprise him, because I think he expected the run, but I thought that maybe because I was far enough behind him, he was just going to chase it in with me, and I would beat him because he'd slide himself or whatever, and I would beat him on distance and all that. But I mean, as soon as he lifted, I was like, I'm beat. Like I know, like that was a great move. So that's really like the first time I've been in races with him, like on the track with him at the same time, but that's the first ever time I've gotten to race with him. So that was a lot of fun. And like Brad said, I think, he reminds me a lot of myself, and he got to run the 57 W out west with Paul. And even Paul said like he's got a lot of the same qualities and driving style as me. So it was fun to get to race him and see him, setting the pace that he was and keeping up with him, and then setting my own pace once I got by him. So I know we'll get the chance to race with each other a lot more in the future. He's only 17 and still in high school. So he's definitely the best that's been in a wing sprint car at that age in a long time.
Yeah, kid's good. And he's in the 7BC for the rest of the high limit races, at least. So we'll get to see him a few more times on Flo the rest of the year. All right. Good wrap up for Kokomo. Huset's is the next race for the High Limit Sprint Car Series. That's August 15th. One of the nicest facilities in the country. Always great racing. You guys both had the chance to race there earlier this year, of course, at the High Bank Nationals. So it's the week after Knoxville, right? Are you guys getting a good feel of the car count, and are guys going to be too wore out after Knoxville, or are guys going to be ready to race again and come run with us at Huset's?
Honestly, you never know. I mean, when we schedule these races, you're always hopeful that, the purses we're putting up and what we're trying to do, people will get excited about it, whether it's, right after the Nationals or not. It's obviously leading into the Jackson Nationals. So, Todd at Huset's, he has Huset's and Jackson, and, trying to help, give guys, a little bit more of a reason to stay out and run Jackson. And Huset's is a great racetrack, and he's doing a lot of big things there. So having another, big night of racing there is important, for all of us. So we certainly appreciate Todd, taking the gamble and going on the Tuesday after the Nationals. We know it's not the easiest date to take. But I hope, Huset's kind of has a 410 following. Obviously we have a high limit following, and then you have a lot of cars that are going to be in that area. So we certainly hope that we'll get another good car count and another good field of cars to go after the big purse.
Kyle, what's the challenge of that place? I think we talked about this at one point earlier, but the surface there is kind of tricky. It takes some kind of understanding of how to get around there. So what do you expect kind of looking ahead there?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious what Brad thinks too, but that, going to Huset's earlier this year was my first time there on the new tire. And I don't know, it felt different. Like it felt like not as much grip, like even in the grip. So I was a little bit, took some adjusting to get used to all that and kind of how you have to drive. But once you get racing, it's, normal Huset's. I thought the track was great. I mean, so often I feel like you watch Huset's and it takes rubber. But they did a really good job with it for the I forget what they call it, but the big race they had.
The High Bank Nationals. Yeah. I think they're getting better for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I know that, they got good equipment, and I know that Todd and his crew there, Taylor and those guys, they work really hard, and like they nailed the track. I thought like every night at the High Bank Nationals. So that's kind of nice going there. I don't think we have to worry about track prep, and we are going to have, one support class. I think the narrow tires actually help that place a little bit. So maybe we won't run quite as fast for the show at Kokomo or as Kokomo. But I thought the fans enjoyed that we got Kokomo done early. So who knows? We gotta find out what the fans, what time the fans really want us to end the races, I guess would be a good question to ask.
Yeah, I skipped over that in my notes. We can backtrack before we go on to Knoxville. So yeah, I mean, we were done at what, 9:13, I think was the checkered at Kokomo. So show was efficient. It was quick. I mean, we had some downtime to do a little bit of touch up on the track and stuff, but it was almost still daylight when when we got done. I like that, but yeah, to your point, I think there's some folks that maybe are like, oh, I didn't even realize that we were going yet. So you got to find a middle ground, I guess, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the question that we'd like a little feedback on from the fans is, what's that magic time frame? I know that it seemed at the track the atmosphere was great, in the pits afterwards because we did get done early. So it seems like allowing the races to get done early really benefits the kids and the parents to to kind of have those interactions with the drivers they came to see and cheer on. So that seemed really good. Just curious from all the people watching, at home, if it's, too early or too quick or, things like that. Because we're always looking for feedback to make sure that we're improving, our shows. And we would like to listen to what people want. And hopefully we can, keep providing great racing and efficient time slots.
And I think too, it could be a thing where the fans just have to get used to it, like used to, high limit, like, oh man, high limits race on Tuesday. It's going to be a pretty quick show. Like I need to get my stuff done, whether it be in the yard or whatever, fans in California, like, man, I need to get my stuff done before, it hits a certain time. So, cause I mean, that is, we have lots of goals, but I think that's one of our main goals is to run an efficient program on a midweek show to, for one, I mean, I think everybody at the racetrack appreciates it for sure, because they can get home in a decent hour and have work the next day or whatever it may be. And even at home, like I appreciate when a race is done at a good hour. So, but yeah, I think there is a fine line of a little too early maybe, but I think if you over time get used to it, I think then it is fine. So, I loved it being at the track, being done as early as we were, and we got to go enjoy a dinner, before we, went home. It was nice. So, it was good that way, I thought.
Gives people more times to be in the pits after the races when we run a quick show. So that's always a positive too.
Yeah. No, the pits were packed. It was great to see the pits packed. I think a lot of that has to do with finishing early. So, those race fans, you get a chance to say hey and take a picture, get an autograph from their favorite driver. And I think that ultimately grows our sport too, because there was a lot of kids there. So if your races are done at 11:30, it's like, man, you brought your 5 or 6 year old son or daughter. It's like, I wouldn't want to take them in the pits. I would definitely not want to take my kids to the pits that late. But if it's 9 o'clock, for sure I'm going there, and they're probably going to grow up and love the sport because of the times that they met drivers and stuff. I remember being a little kid taking my pillowcase around and getting it signed by everybody. So it's really important to get the kids in the pits after races. I think finishing early is important to that.
Agreed.
Yep, no doubt. All right, let's talk Knoxville. That's looming large in everybody's mind. Next week, you guys are both former winners. So let's go around the horn and Brad, I'll start with you as the first of you two to win. But what stands out to you about that night and how special it was?
It's just I don't know. It's a hard feeling to describe for me. Just I just always dreamed about winning that race. Like that was by far the most important thing. It was more important, I think, in my mind at the time for sure than being a champion or anything. It was just the Knoxville Nationals is just something I wanted so bad. So, man, when you can accomplish a dream, it's like a feeling you've never had. So I just remember, feeling really good all week, got the car really good, had my mind right, had my, was just ready to compete for that win. And thought we executed really well and had a great car, won the race. The green white checker with Donnie is something I'll never forget. Just that feeling of, got to hit, 2 perfect laps on the bottom at Knoxville and was able to do it. It still gives me chills when I go back and watch it. Just, man, that was crazy. The pressure that was right then and there. And then honestly, just the celebration, just being with family, friends, my crew, just with Casey, Kyle ran third, just everything that was right then. And then singing with Tim Duggar late into the night, celebrating all night long. Just a night I'll never forget. It was one of those nights that it's just a great feeling to win, and it's such a great event. Whether you win or lose, it's still just a fun week at Knoxville, but there's nothing like winning the Knoxville Nationals.
Kyle, did you have time to even really process yours? Because you had to go race the Cup car the next day, right? So I imagine your celebration was a little briefer than Brad's, but how did it kind of settle in for you?
Yeah, no, I hope I can win the Knoxville Nationals someday again whenever I'm done, Cup racing, just because I didn't get to celebrate. Like, I didn't get to even see my team. I went from the races, every Saturday night get done so late, and media pictures take a long time. The media center takes a long time. I mean, it was like almost 1 a.m. by the time I got done with media. And yeah, I mean, I ran to the pit area real quick, said, congrats everybody, and bye. And that's all the chance I got to see my guys. And then you hop in the car, go to the airport, fly to Indy. I think we walked in the motorhome at like almost 4 a.m, and I had qualifying at like 9:30. So, yeah, I didn't get to do any celebrating. And I remember the next day, like it didn't even feel real that I'd won, the Knoxville Nationals. Cause I think you dream of winning the Knoxville Nationals. You dream of having a night like Brad did, like celebrating and hanging out and singing into the night. And I didn't get to do any of that. So I wouldn't trade it for the world, but I hope I can at least experience it, again down the road, and really get to enjoy it with, my family and friends and all of that. So even when Brad won, like I wanted to be there so bad to just, hang out and get to, enjoy it with him, because he dreamt of winning the Knoxville Nationals, and I ran third and got to witness it and share the stage. And it was just, he's my brother-in-law. Like, I wanted to be there. And hang out and celebrate. But the day job sometimes gets in the way of things like that. But, it's all part of it. But it's cool that both of us can say we've won, Knoxville Nationals, Kings Royal, stuff like that.
What does it do for a guy's year when you win a race like that? Like, even for you, Kyle, as a guy that's not a full-time sprint car guy, what does a win like that do for the rest of your season?
Well, for me, I don't know. We had a great year going in all types of cars that I was running. That 2021 is definitely the best year to date for me. Won a lot of big races, even won a crown jewel in a late model that year. Won some in the midget as well, the Cup car. So like with each win, it just kind of, I guess, gave you more confidence. And I think in the middle of it, you're like, man, like you're putting together a really good year, and it makes you want to like continue that on. So, but yeah, I think it's definitely probably a different feeling for a full-time sprint car guy. But, that was just a great season, and I hope I can have another one like it someday.
Yeah, I feel like you only get so many chances as a winged sprint car racer to win a crown jewel, put your name on those trophies each year and win that amount of money. So, it's getting more and more, now, like you have the Outdoor Million this year, Huset's High Bank Nationals, you have the Kings Royal and the Knoxville Nationals, and there's other events that are growing too. But when you win one, it just makes everything feel like it's a good year. Honestly, you could have had a bad year right up to it, win that, and you kind of feel like you have a good year. It takes a lot of pressure off. The team's morale gets much higher. You get confidence. So yeah, you always want to win a crown jewel in sprint car racing. I feel like there's only 3 or 4 or 5 of them every year that you get a chance to win. So yeah, it's certainly a great feeling, and it's certainly really good for the race team.
Hard to believe it's already here, already August, and biggest sprint car race in the world looms large next
the granddaddy
week.
Of them all.
That's right. That's right. It's here. So, all right. Let's do hold 'em or fold 'em before we get out of here. I think we all agreed that we want to hold wing sprint cars at Kokomo. We've explained that. We love what kind of show it puts on there. What did we decide for fold? Do we have a fold 'em this week?
I don't know. I still think we're good. I still love single division sprint car racing. So I'd stick with folding support classes, but maybe not. Maybe if it was perfect, we wouldn't. But I don't really have a great fold 'em this week, so we'll have to rely on Kyle to come up with one.
I don't have a fold 'em, but I thought all the non-wing guys did a really good job at Kokomo, and KT surprised the heck out of me. He qualified well, made the dash. I saw his nose once in the feature when I was running second, so I thought he did a really good job. Logan CV ran in the top 10. CJ Leary did a really good job at Eldora.
Yeah, finished 12 at the million.
Yeah, Jake Swanson's been getting better, so I'd like to hold non-wing guys, putting a roof over their head and getting mounting the wing on. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of the.
How about I'll fold Dylan not calling our work area the Indy finishing metal work area?
Indy metal finishing work area.
Yes. So next time you'll have to do that for us. But we also had driven to save lives be a part of that event, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I need to get my sponsor list tightened up apparently. So apologies to the Indy metal finishing folks. We'll give you some love at Huset's if somebody ends up back there in the work area. So
there will be. Right.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I think that's all we've got. Good couple of weeks for the High Limit Sprint Car Series. Good couple of weeks coming up for sprint car racing in general. Of course, with the Ironman this weekend, and then Knoxville, everything that's going on out there. Starting this weekend, I guess, with 360 Nationals, and then Sunday with kind of officially kicking the week off. So, guys, good luck to you. Have a good week, and appreciate your time as always. And those of you that can't be at Huset's, be sure to check it out on FloRacing, of course, as always, August the 15th. That's our next race coming up. So, guys, thank you, and good luck again.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep, thank you.